In this video, let's begin a new chapter. This new chapter is on enterprise risk management. It's a very important topic, both from the standpoint of FRM exam part 1 as well as FRM exam part 2. Okay. Now, to understand enterprise risk management in this opening video of this chapter, let's first of all distinguish it from traditional risk management. Okay, these are two different paradigms of managing risk: traditional risk management and enterprise risk management. Okay, now let's very quickly understand what is traditional risk management. If you were to remember a single sentence about traditional risk management, just remember that traditional risk management is a way of managing risk in which risk is managed in silos. Okay, so to give you a very simple example, let's say there is a bank which, broadly speaking, can be split into two business divisions. These are, let's say, commercial banking and investment banking. Then we know that both these divisions, they are exposed in their own way to interest rate risk. Okay, so interest rate risk is like a common risk which both these divisions are exposed to. How do these divisions handle and manage interest rate risk? Well, they have their own dedicated risk management functions to take care of this and actually other risks also. Okay, so there might be a risk manager who is a specialist in managing interest rate risk sitting in the commercial banking division of the firm, and there might be another separate risk manager, again specialized in managing interest rate risk, sitting in the investment banking division of the firm. Okay, so interest rate risk, although it's a common risk which both these divisions are exposed to, is being managed in silos. It is not being managed at the entire firm-wide or enterprise-wide level. Okay, and that is what enterprise risk management is all about. It's about having a firm-wide, or let's say enterprise-wide view of risks in aggregate, and then trying to manage these risks at the firm-wide level, not in silos. Okay, so that is like a very quick description of traditional risk management and enterprise risk management. Now let's do this. Let's very quickly tabulate the differences between these two paradigms of managing risk. The first difference, something which we have already pointed out, is the perspective, is the level at which you measure, monitor, and let's say manage risk. In traditional risk management, your risk is viewed in business line and let's say risk type and functional silos. Okay, you don't have an integrated and aggregate view of risk. Okay, your view of risk is at the business line or let's say individual risk type level. Then when you talk about enterprise risk management, your view of risk is across business lines and it is across risk types. Only when you have a top level aggregate view of risk would you be able to actually observe the level of diversification related benefits that you are able to achieve, because risks do offset each other when they are, let's say, observed in different parts of the organization, and it's only when you have an aggregate view of risks would you observe if there are any concentrations of risk that you need to be worried about. Okay, then let's talk about organizational structure. So risk managers in traditional risk management, they kind of work in isolation. As I told you, there'll be a risk manager managing interest rate risk sitting in commercial banking division and another risk manager managing interest rate risk sitting in the investment banking division. Okay, so these risk managers who work in isolation, they are made in charge of risks which are called primary risks. Risks such as market risk, credit risk, and operational risk. To make sure that these risk managers, they kind of manage all risks which the firm faces, the other risks which I have not mentioned, I mean risks apart from market, credit, and operational, they are in some way mapped to these primary risks. But please note that many a times this mapping does not work. There are quite a few risks, for example, liquidity risk, which you cannot really map to the primary risks of market, credit, and operational. Therefore, very important types of risks may not come under the oversight of any risk manager, and therefore this way of managing risks is not comprehensive. There might be risk types which kind of escape through the net. Okay, then when you have an integrated risk team, which happens in enterprise risk management, an integrated team which is, let's say, reporting to a single head, let's say a chief risk officer, then you have an organizational structure in place in which you have a more comprehensive view of risks and you have a higher accountability of risks. There's a lower chance that any risk type actually escapes through the net. Okay, then risk metrics. In traditional way of managing risks, you have many different risk metrics. You have specific risk metrics for different types of risks, and because you have so many types of risk metrics which are created specifically for different risk types, it becomes very difficult to actually compare and aggregate risk across risk types, because you will be aggregating apples and oranges. Okay, when you talk about ERM, enterprise risk management, then you aim for universal risk metrics, for example VAR and scenario analysis, which can help you integrate your view of risk, which can help you arrive at a single aggregated number at the firm-wide level. Practically speaking, I'm not saying that it's always possible, but at least you aim for a common currency in which your risk numbers can be expressed so that risk can be aggregated across the entire organization. Okay, so we are talking about a system, a framework in which apples can be compared to and added to apples. Okay, then the next difference is about aggregating risk, something which I have actually already mentioned. When you talk about traditional risk management, then aggregation of risk, if at all you are able to do it, happens only within a business line and happens only within a given risk type. Okay, so you might be able to aggregate, let's say, the credit risk exposure of different loans that you have made sitting in commercial banking, okay, and arrive at the total aggregated credit risk exposure of commercial banking, but that is where your aggregation stops. Okay, it happens within any given business line and it happens within a given risk type. Okay, so if aggregation stops at that level, traditional risk management will present a significant difficulty in seeing aggregate risk picture of the entire firm. Okay, then in ERM you aim for tools and integrated frameworks that can help you arrive at an aggregated enterprise-wide risk number. Okay, you try and aggregate even across multiple risk types. Okay, then next difference is on account of risk transfer. In traditional risk management, if you opt for risk transfer as your chosen strategy for any given risk type, then you will be opting for risk-specific transfer instruments. You might have a chosen transfer instrument for interest rate risk. You might have a chosen transfer instrument for equity risk, for credit risk, and so on. Okay. When you come to enterprise risk management, because we are talking about a common currency of risk, because we are talking about risk at the aggregate firm-wide level, you can think of the possibility of actually cutting down your risk transfer cost by opting for those risk transfer instruments which are multi-trigger in nature. Okay, instruments which can give you very flexible, very broad-based protection across multiple risk types and across multiple risk triggers. Okay, we'll talk about one such instrument as we keep moving forward in this chapter. Okay, then let's talk about the next aspect, and that is risk management. So when I say risk management, think about the risk management strategies that we discussed in the previous chapter on how firms manage interest rate risk. Now, risk management, we had said, is about doing some kind of a cost-benefit analysis and then opting for one out of these four strategies or these four options in front of you. And these are avoid, retain, mitigate, transfer. Okay, so when you do your cost-benefit analysis in traditional risk management, essentially what you arrive at is, in calculus terms, a local minima / a maxima, whichever one you are aiming depending on your objective function. Okay, you arrive at some kind of a local optimum. Okay, so it is rarely the case that you arrive at a global optimum. Okay, so the level of optimization is not that great when you do traditional risk management. Okay, because you are running many individual optimization problems. When it comes to ERM, each risk management approach can be viewed as one component, or let's say one dimension of a total cost of risk. One dimension of an overall optimization problem. And how is this achievable? Because we are talking about a single currency in which your risk is measured and then aggregated. Okay, so in the end, the optimum that you arrive at and the decision that you take out of avoid, retain, mitigate, and transfer is like a global optimum, not a local optimum. Okay, the last aspect of differentiating between traditional and ERM is about how risk management integrates with other strategies of the firm. When you talk about traditional risk management, it is impossible to integrate risk management with other strategies and activities such as balance sheet management and how the firm finances itself. On the other hand, when we talk about ERM, risk management done at the enterprise level can be integrated with balance sheet management, with capital management, and with the firm's financing strategies. When I say integrated, it's about inputs from risk management can help drive your balance sheet management, capital management, and financing, and vice versa. Okay, so this opening learning objective was about understanding what enterprise risk management is all about and how enterprise risk management actually differs from traditional risk management.